was Keep the Waters Flowing. It was AYA Tanzania, uh, featuring Baoku and Evelyn Duduyemi of Kibole Bole Education Institute and of AYA Education Institute, and the rest. Come on, y'all.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much. Keep the Waters Flowing is a reference to an mfereji. Mfereji is a word meaning canal in Kiswahili. We came here, Evelyn and I, on the back of the work of two former presidents, Nyerere and Magufuli, both of whom set us up to desire to come and be a part of the community that they created. Nyerere created a community that was based on agriculture, that supported the people's need for self-reliance, and it did just that, the family level, the school level, for the entire nation to protect what he thought was precious. And Magufuli followed behind that, actually having people be more self-determined. The words that he talked about: grow food. And he also said, if you can help me out, he said, grow food. And
he said, plant food, drink water. This is response to COVID, right? It was right. Like, we're going to keep doing what we have always been doing, right? And central to that was grow food, drink clean water, and we'll be fine.
That's right. I'm forgetting the tagline, but that's fine. So what he did was he focused more on, self-determination, not letting other people from other places tell us what disease is, what the cures for those diseases are. And what I've witnessed here since we come to Tanzania is an increase in the impact of COVID has been increasing people's social and emotional connection. And it was so happy to see. And so what we've done is try to maintain that same thing in the community that we have moved to and are trying to becoming a part of and are trying to help build. AYA Tanzania has 6.135 acres of land in a place called Induruma. Induruma is still a village where people use the land to maintain themselves and their families. And part of the maintenance, part of the using of that land are these canals that come off of the Induruma River. And these canals run through Induruma, and then smaller canals are made off of that larger canal so that it can feed the farms that people are maintaining on this land. This is lowland. So the mountain starts high at Mount Meru, and as you come down, people use the water. And as it comes down to the lower flatlands, it gets distributed to larger areas using these canals. And one of the things that we did when we bought land in Tanzania was make sure that we had access to water. And Induruma had that water because AYA Tanzania is using our agricultural acumen to increase the math and science acumen of the children in this area. That is one of the things that Tanzania has been trying to do, improve math and science. Luckily, we come with some math and science skills of our own and some experience in education.
A little bit.
And Tanzania agreed with us by allowing us to open an NGO and open up a school. They agreed that we were equipped for the job. And so when we bought this land, one of the factors was that it had these, if you can look at the pictures, upper left, it had this stream. We call it a stream because that's what people refer to it as. It's been here for over 200 years. And so they refer to it as a stream. It's a canal off the river. And those are banana plants planted near it. Along the stream will be different varieties of banana. And banana is ndizi in Kiswahili. So ndizi mzuzu is like plantains, and ndizi sukari is sweet bananas. They're very small and sweet. And we planted them along the stream, along with mua, which is sugarcane. The mua is for eating. Some of it is medicinal. We planted arrowroot, for those of you who know, it's called magimbi here and other names. And those things help protect the stream and also provide food. And we do what everyone else does here. We grow food to eat, and we grow food as medicine. We grow, we give away what we can't eat, because here food isn't wasted. You know, one of our friends came before us. They got sick in the house. They had a mango tree, and they were so sick they couldn't go and get the fruit off the mango trees. And a neighbor came by like, you can't just let the mangoes go go rotten on the tree. You have to eat the mangoes. It's a community, it's an informal agreement. It's an informal community agreement that you don't let food go to waste on the trees. You either eat it or give it away or sell it in some kind of way, right? And all these fruit trees that you see, actually what you see right here on the right-hand side in the larger picture is starts. They're transplants. They're a little bigger now because that was taken a couple weeks ago, that picture, and they are transplanted from that to another section of the farm that was in a previous picture. When they get large enough, when they get larger than that, we eat them. And so, but along this, you can see banana plants and what they call mapaipai, that's papaya plants. And also, you can't really see them in the picture, but it's a bunch of sugarcane and other items. And those things are planted all along the streams. We probably have hundreds of banana plants, maybe 80 or so papaya plants, and I mean, tons and tons of sugarcane. And it grows from as soon as the stream hits our section of the land, we've planted all along. In the upper left-hand corner, the picture's gone, that's fine. It was a space in the stream that's very important to us. Prior to buying the land was under contract. Not under contract in terms of written down contract, but promises from folks who weren't a part of the community. They weren't a part of our community or our culture. And Mama Bahati, who sold us the land, knew that. So when she felt uncomfortable about selling those people the land, she asked us to do a few things. And when we agreed to keep those promises, one of which was keep a place for people to come use the mfereji on our land. So we built a bridge, which you can see in the upper left-hand corner, which allows people to come up into the land and utilize the stream here in this area where people have been coming since they were young ladies.
Oh, you keep talking. It's just,
no problem.
Pictures.
Yep. Excellent. So, what you're seeing as you just scroll down from the tops of the canopy of these large mango trees. They call them maembe, mango trees here. We have about 20 mango trees along the stream itself. So you can see how important the stream is to some of the things along them. The mango trees especially, they're very old growth mango trees. People are being convinced to plant the smaller mango trees that some people may be familiar with, but these are large trees that don't require as much maintenance. They just require water, which you're trying to maintain. We also plant, since we have a number of acres, we plant corn on this land. You can see the harvest we got of corn, sunflowers, and something they call kunde. So kunde is essentially black-eyed peas. It looks a little different than the black-eyed peas that you're used to seeing, and they're weighted. They're allowed to be dried on the plant before they're picked, and then taken out of the pods, and then made into things you normally would eat them with. And all of these items that we're referring to on the screen, the mahindi, which is corn, the kunde, and all the other items that I named, they're all fed from canals. The canals, there's a whole system of when you can use the water, and we're a part of that system. You pay into the system as you become a part of the village, a part of the community in the village, and that's what we are because we go to the meetings. We pay into the system, we follow the rules, and one of those rules is you get access to the water a certain number of times during the week, and they open it up. They open the stream up, and additional canals are allowed to have water go into your particular land.
I think that's all the pictures we have.
It's all pictures, no problem. So what we're doing here is we're trying to maintain the land that we have, and also maintain the stream for the community around us who also use it. The stream extends for kilometers, and then other canals for kilometers are come off of that. So it supports the people there. It also supports the animals there. It's one of the few places around here that still has the animals that you might see if you go on safari, except they're just walking around. And so, and they also use the water that's in that area. And so when it comes to household use, business use, school use, whatever you can think of. I remember when we first got on the land, Loti who was one of our board members, was so happy to see it because the stream reminded him of himself as a young man bathing in the stream itself. And he kind of reenacted it for us as he went over near the stream. And not just maybe a week ago, An elder of his who taught Loti everything he knows about tourism said the exact same thing. He can remember bathing in the streams here in Arusha and how important they were to him and the memories that they brought back up. So one of the things we're trying to do is get support maintaining that stream, because the future town plan in Nzaruma currently reroutes the stream.
So that the stream would go from stretching for several kilometers, right, to about a kilometer, right, to sort of leave the river and go back into the river, right? How did this happen? As AYA Tanzania, the NGO, right, the international NGO recognized by the Tanzanian government, was getting a deed on the land, the stream goes directly through the middle of the land, right? And so and this is the first land in the village to get a deed, right? To be recognized by the government level. People have all the agreements at the village level about whose land is whose and whose mango tree is whose and all that, right? But we were getting recognition on the government level as a way to ensure the land, right? As an NGO, as people who are not Tanzanian, right? We need that on the government level to ensure that AYA Tanzania can keep going forward, right? And so a town plan had to be created as part of that process. And when we saw the town plan, we were so sad, because the town plan has a stream no longer go through our land or for kilometers down, but to just kind of come out the river and go back in, right? Wait, what? How? What are we doing about the water? It's a whole system, as Baoku said. He did a great job of giving you all a really good introduction to how important it is to the community, right? And so that day that we were going to pay for our deed, right, so that this 6 acres could be secured in that way, we didn't. Because had we paid for it, the town plan wouldn't be amendable, right? And so we said, we can't be, okay, we have this deed, right, but then the stream is in jeopardy. That's not going to work. And so we didn't pay for the deed, and now we are working in partnership with the city of Arusha to see how it is that we can address the situation, right? And so the support that we are asking for has to do with money to get a new town plan in place, right? Commission city planners, right, to redraw the maps, right? To get the stream registered with the Tanzanian government, right? So that it is protected in its own right, right? And so that's the money that we're raising. Our first fundraiser is AYA Tanzania, to make sure that this stream, which it's really, we showed you the one because the main one goes through our land, and as Baoku said, from there are all these man-made tributaries, right, that really make this land productive, right? There's so much food that comes out. Truth be told, when you buy food over there, it's super cheap. Like, it's a really great place to buy like a tomato because everybody got them, right? So, right, it's so much food that comes out of that space. And we want that to continue, right? And we want that, there's so many good things that come out of it. The way Baku talked about the way that the community organizes itself around the water, right? So that the stream connects community, right? Because we have to talk about who and when, and even argue about who and when, and last Thursday you got water, how about this? All of that great stuff we want to protect. And so we're asking y'all for money to help us to partner with the city of Arusha so that we can put together a plan that benefits both Arusha and Nzaruma.
Well, we want to open it up for questions. Anybody who wants to know about AYA Tanzania, wants to know about y'all, wants to know about us, what this is, because we really need your support in sending this out to your list and having people recognize that this is an effort worthy of their support with whatever they can give. We are determined. While the Asians and the Arabs are trying to get our young people off the land, when you come out of school, all right, now you got your degree. Well, now you're too good to touch the land. They'll invite you to an office so you don't get your hands dirty anymore. Well, then, of course, you know what that leads to. That leads to foreign control of our food supplies, all right? And right now, we're trying to recover from that now where our people are off the land. Of course, it wasn't just by invitation. it was also by clan activity here in terms of taking us off the land. But we still know with our urban gardening movement and our urban farming movement, we're trying to reacclimate our people back to growing and back to the land. And so what we want to do there in Tanzania is to thwart that by teaching math and science in a way that also has them continue to be connected to the land and beginning to learn the advanced science connected to, land use and growth, the technical science related to that, so that it becomes something that's valued as opposed to something that their Arab and or Asian folks might want them to come off of.
But may I piggyback on that, Baba? Because
Sure.
this is really significant. Recently, agriculture has been taken out of the school system here. It used to be a primary part of the school system. And I think it coincides with people from outside the country's desire to have the land. There's significant difference between the value of money in Tanzania and the value of money in places like the United States or many other places. So it's a perfect place for people to bring to land grab, bring their businesses, and then hire people who they consider low-cost labor. So that's one of the things that Magufuli tried to avoid. He wouldn't sell land to people outside the country. And if you are a person who comes from outside the country and lives here, you cannot own land by yourself. They stopped that back in 1998 because they saw that the people were ripe for that type of incursion. Now, one of the things that people don't understand is how powerful them having not selling the land is and the growing of food is. When Kenya, during the last pandemic, the outbreak of COVID happened, Kenya made some demands on Tanzania. They didn't like the fact that they didn't think Tanzania was being strict enough in terms of looking for and purchasing vaccines, yes, and handing it out to their people. And they made some demands at the border and about such that Magufuli himself said, well, listen, seeing as you have these demands, it sounds to me like you don't need all the food that we grow and then send across the border. Because Kenya, they send about 50% of the food that Kenya eats over to Kenya. Tanzania supplies
half of Kenya's food.
Half of it.
And Tanzania supplies all of its own food. In fact, just recently we were taking the children to Nairobi and we're driving from Arusha to Nairobi. It's only about 4 hours. You could see all the trucks, tomatoes, onions, just all the trucks going, right, to Kenya, right?
Wood, charcoal,
everything, right? And I'm so glad, Baba, that you reminded us to talk about that point, in that these 6 acres, right, that aren't owned by us, that are owned by the NGO AYA Tanzania, right? Half or more of that will be the campus for AYA Tanzania, right? The campus, the classrooms, the laboratory fields, the place to study agriculture and learn advanced math and science by studying agriculture. And we need water to do that.
Without question.
We got to have water to have the fields grow and stuff so we can do the experiments, right? And so that's why it's so significant.
Absolutely. Sausage trees here in Tanzania help with the blood, right? Kweme nuts bring in the milk for breastfeeding mothers.
Wait a minute. What kind of trees?
Okay. So Kweme is not a tree. It's a nut that comes off of a vine that gets about 30 meters long. Okay, the pods, they're huge pods, the size of Evelyn and I's head together.
The sausage tree?
Oh, no, the Kweme nut is for it's for the milk. It's high in protein. It's high in a number of things, but they give it for healing disease and they give it for breastfeeding mothers. So if you have some type of condition here and you're going to a healer, they will most likely ask you to add Kweme nut to your diet. It helps in a number of ways. The sausage tree is a tree that has these large, it looks like sausages hanging off them. And one of the things they're used for is for strengthening of the blood. And these types of remedies are sometimes becoming lost. You have to go to people who actually know what it is and know how to use it, but they're still plentiful. And there are many other things that help with the blood here as well. And so These are the types of things that we plan on supporting at the gardens that we grow at AYA Tanzania. You know, we are saving some of the old plants that are both medicinal and nutritional that people have stopped growing because they've been growing food that supports them economically, because they sell to people who come from outside of the country and come for tourism. But, you know, we recently, there's a potato, it's called a chaga. It's not called the chaga potato, but people refer to it as the chaga potato. It's supposed to be good for high blood pressure and diabetes. And so we're recognizing these vegetables, we're keeping track of them and their uses, we're making note of it, we're getting assistance with learning how to grow them, and we will make sure that these things maintain being a part of the community, and we're getting help from other people who are already a part of the community, who believe in the same things.
And one thing that Baoku said was about the encouraging people to grow with essentially GMO vegetables a lot of the time for economic advantage now. And one of the things that we know, right, that, you know, that all of us here in this room know is that because we're in a different arc, we're in a different arc of oppression, right, as far as like what's happening in which point, is that they take away all the original stuff and they bring it back like 20, 30 years later, right? And then heirloom tomatoes are now all the rage and they're $1 gazillion. And so, and the organic vegetables, right, they bring them back later and they're really expensive. And so one of the things that we are doing is encouraging people to keep them and also keeping them so that they'll be available so that when they come back, then they can be redistributed for people to grow so that our people can benefit, right?
That's
so
right.
From that in the future.
The picture of corn that you saw that Evelyn pointed to was a corn that is an older variety here in Tanzania. It would have been the variety that Loti's parents used to grow, which isn't grown very much anymore because people have been taught to switch from that variety. When we landed onto the land and we started growing that variety without chemicals, without pesticides, many people in the village, you know, they said, you know, you seem like nice people. So I think we should tell you that that's not going to work. No chemicals and that old seed from back in the day, that's not going to work. And so we were able to show them that it is possible to grow a healthy crop of corn, that you can eat some and you can save some for later and you can sell some without the use of chemicals. And what we did was we got interest in not only the corn that we were growing. People came to see if they could get ears of it so they could plant it.
We're saving plenty so that next season when it's time to plant maize, we will be able to distribute among the community. Hey, y'all want to grow some, you know, some corn without pesticides together? Let's do it.
That's right. And people know that the pesticides cost money. And when they saw us lead by example and not do that. We even had people in our camp close to us that like us were like, are you sure you don't want to use pesticides? Like, you know, there are bugs that eat corn. We're like, we're positive.
It's going to work out.
This is going to work out.
But like Baba said, questions.
I apologize.
We're just so excited. We have so much to tell you, and we want to answer your questions.
There's one in the chat. Can you talk about the dollar conversion to the local currency?
Sure. So one of the things that's important about conversion is like you can talk about like how many Tanzanian shillings, you know, per dollar. And for me, it's not like useful because it's like, well, what do I do with the shillings, right? So I like to talk about like sort of, I guess it's more like buying power, right? And that is like, you can buy lunch for 50 cents. Like you can buy like good lunch, like beans, rice, greens, chapati for 50 cents. You could get like a Coke with it, you know, people like Fanta and stuff like that here. You can get that on the side for $1, right? You can rent a couple of rooms, you know, a bathroom, a sitting room, a bedroom, right? For a month for $40, right? And everything above that, right? So there's a whole range, right? There are also people with like fantastic mansions with junior Olympic swimming pool, right? There's all that, right? And there's a whole range, and it goes that far. It goes all the way into, you know, just astronomical amounts, and it goes all the way down to like I might be making $100 a month and totally be able to we have food and shelter and clothing on that. And so what it means in terms of what Baoku was saying is there's the opportunity for folks to really come in and take advantage of that power dynamic between countries, right? That would have the Tanzanian shilling artificially worth less, right? There's no reason why it should be worth less than the dollar. Like that's all about the power between the two countries.
And at the same time, what Evelyn said is absolutely correct. And at the same time, that conversion rate will be accounted for when you're trying to do the type of work that Evelyn and I are doing.
That's true.
If you're trying to buy land and build schools, they will account for that in the amounts that you're charged for particular services or the particular items.
You got to pay more.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you pointed out the numbers I gave are what a Tanzanian can pay for rent. And what how a Tanzanian can buy lunch, right?
Right.
I can't get that I can't pay that rent.
That's
I
right.
can't, when I go into the store to buy lunch, it's going to cost more. And in some ways, that's very much okay, right? Because you're bringing these dollars. Like, come on, you're going to give me some of the dollars, right? Just understanding that, how that dynamic works.
Absolutely. So that's why there's the significance. When we purchased the land, when AYA Tanzania purchased the land in Tanzania, we received the American price. The come from America price. We did not receive the Tanzanian price. We had to do everything that everyone else did. We had to get approved by the seller. We had to get approved by the village. We had to get the village documentation that says that it was ours. We had to take that village documentation to the government. And the government, and along the way, people accounted for the exchange rate and charged us accordingly as people who originally came here from America. And
it's important to say that the new town plan that we're working towards, that's the American price.
That's the American price.
Right. The registering of the stream.
That's the American
price.
And we have people from Tanzania on the board. And when they're around Americans, they get the American price.
I'm looking in the chat to see.
Another one, Mama Evelyn. Any other questions? Because I want to show them how they can donate. Any other questions?
I would like to make a comment. Can you hear me? Am I? Oh, is that what I'm hearing? I've often thought about what the word sovereignty and freedom looks like. And you're really describing the translation of what sovereignty and freedom looks like in terms of people policies and the makings of that. And I was just kind of thinking about how the whole notion of you're engaging in an educative process of teaching the value system that you can see coming from the United States and knowing how these foreign countries, how they want it, they see the same value that you see. They see that if they take control of the land, what they can do with it. And you coming in and saying, that here, listen, you can grow corn without chemicals. I mean, that whole process of translating a value system, that you had to change your value system. They were where you were saying the chemicals, growing corn with chemicals was something that they'd been taught. You see, but you were changing that, and I was translating that in terms of here of us as Africans in this country and supporting our own businesses. That same kind of notion, like investing in our own interests. I'm listening to you. It's so exciting, but the question I have is that is changed to convince some of the Tanzanians that you could grow corn without chemicals. What did it take to do that? I mean, you didn't just pop your fingers and just say it. You had to,
it took us doing it. We just did it, right? If we did, it's the AYA way, leading by leading yourself, right? So we just grew the corn without chemicals, and folks saw the corn growing. And one of the things we like to say is that it really isn't that we, I think I'm pretty smart, but it's not our brilliance, right? It's that we're in a different arc of the timeline, right? So we've seen the end of the movie, right? In many ways, Tanzania, and not in a backwards way, like there's any, but it's like 30 or 60 years ago in terms of the oppressive forces, right? And so one of the things that we can say to people is, look, this is how it is now, is how it was for my parents and my grandparents, right? Let me tell you how it is in the United States now. Let me tell you where this is headed, right? Only because we've seen the end of the movie, so I can tell you how it ends. And then oftentimes having those conversations with people is really helpful. And of course, the most helpful thing is to just do it, right? And so as the corn grew and it was tall and healthy and the ears were gigantic and people continued to come to the stream, right? To wash, to come to the stream to get water and saw the corn growing. Okay, wait a second. Can I ask you about that? Right. Absolutely. Can I get some of the seeds? Of course you can. Right. So that just doing it and learning ourselves and finding our way ourselves is an invitation for others.
And we also got a lot of help. Many of these people aren't so young that they can't remember their parents or their grandparents growing food in a similar way, growing similar varieties of food, and without the assistance of these chemicals. See, these people, we're just reminding them of what their families already knew in many ways. And we're just using the authority that we get from having come from America to help us do that. It better give me some type of benefit, you know, so we're using that to help people see us in ways that they might not see someone else. And in the end, like Evelyn said, if the corn comes out of the ground and you can eat it and sell it,
and it's cheaper because you didn't have to buy the pesticides. Oh, I'm gonna go over there and see what they're doing over there.
I got a question.
Yes,
please.
Is it possible to sell the seeds to Americans here on this side?
It's something that we're absolutely working on. It's something we're ramping up to, right? Because all of those, you know, when you're transporting agricultural goods across borders,
yes,
that's a lot of regulation, right? And I'm sorry. I mean, when we first started to learn about all the wonderful things here that Baoku was talking about earlier, that's one of our first thoughts, like, how do we get this right to our family? And as we grow as an NGO and growing our knowledge here and our footing here, right? As we have our land deed so that we have some protections, you know, from different, what am I trying to say? Development and stuff like that, right? That's absolutely something that we're looking towards.
And we know it can be done because Tanzanian coffee reaches the United States of America.
Purple sea moss
reaches the United States of America. There are many items here, just, you know, drums and, you know, masks and things of that nature reach the United States. It's just the process and how much does it cost.
Well, keep us posted because we're real interested. My wife and I are real interested in this side of the import-export process. So thanks. This is Brother Charles.
Yes.
Thank
May I
you.
ask a quick question? I'm trying to understand what made the locals stop believing in the fact that they could grow corn. That's strange. But can you help us understand that?
I don't think they lost belief in their ability to grow corn because they've never stopped growing corn. The methods that they've used and the plants that they've used have often changed. For example, say you're growing an avocado tree. The avocado tree takes 8 to 10 years to fruit. Now, if it becomes a 20 or 30-year-old avocado tree, then you have some insane number of avocados on it. But in between the time you plant it, it becomes that insane avocado tree with tons of avocados on it. Well, you're waiting for a long time to sell as many avocados as you might want, right? Somebody comes along and says, I have a tree that's a lot smaller and it can grow avocados fast. Now, avocados are different and it'll take 3 years for you to get a harvest of avocados, and you can begin to eat and sell those avocados. And not only that, I have a market in Europe that you can sell them to. These people,
and more than that, I'm not going to buy the avocados from your 20-year-old trees anymore because now we want these Hass avocados. And this is not a made up. This avocado thing is real, right? So that, you know, the avocados we get in the United States are these small Hass avocados, right? That's not the local avocado. Local avocado is this big, beautiful, delicious avocado. I didn't think I liked avocados until we came to Tanzania, right? And then when they said, no, we're not buying those anymore. We only want Hass avocados.
That's right. Now let's say you knew that, and this was just a strategic move. You're going to go back to selling, you know, the large avocados at some point if you want. You have some type of financial needs you have to take care of, and you've explained that to your children, right? So they may understand. But what about the next door neighbor's children, or the other people down the street who just see you chopping down the old avocado trees to make space for the new avocado trees, and then they also see you making money sending these small avocados to a ready-made market? What are they likely to think and do? So it's a process that has people come outside of their old ways and come to new. Or what if you just see a large field of Hass avocados, land that was given to a European in a deal made 50 years ago, and he is only selling the small avocados, not a single large avocado. And he appears to be doing well because a large house, a lot of land,
employs a lot of people, drives a big car. What kind of avocado should I plant?
Exactly. So you've got this reward of money. You've got, like Evelyn said, the punishment of I'm not going to buy your avocados. You've got, you know, so it's a switch in who's the authority on what is a good avocado and what you should be planting. There are a number of factors. That's just a few.
Hi there, my name is Kiana. I apologize, I'm off camera. I hope, what appears to be hay fever. So I've been,
that's all.
Hay fever.
Yeah, no, I understand, but it is really rough this year.
No, I'm saying I'm with you. Like, yes, it's only going to be hay fever. That's all. It's only going to be.
I know that's right. Yes. It's all about the words. I agree.
That's right.
That's right. I have a simple question for you all. I just wanted to know about, for your fundraising, what does the conversion to the local currency from the dollar look like?
So one of the things is that many of the funds actually won't be converted, right? That's interesting to know, right? Is that many of the things at the government level will be paid for in dollars.
Period.
Right? The title deed will be paid for in dollars. The surveys that we need will be paid for in dollars, right? So that's part of it, right?
Why is that?
That's a good question.
Because of, again, sort of because of the power dynamics between the countries, right? Because of oppression, right? So that in most places on the continent, even if you pay in shillings, and even if you're paying in shillings, the sort of final transaction is happening in dollars or in euros, right? That's a kind of, that's why, like Mama Glory was talking about, that's why keeping a place that has its own food, right, is so important. That's why keeping this next generation on the land is so important, because if I can feed myself, then at some point I can say no to that, right? At some point I can say, no, we're finalizing this all in shillings, if I can feed myself. If I can't feed myself, then that fight can only go so far.
Okay, and just on that point, I'm trying not to take you too far off topic. What I was hoping for was to encourage us, the community that's listening, by the dialogue behind, say, $1 converts to 1,000 shillings, for example, so that people are not afraid to donate by the dollar and kind of focus on microeconomics, but that poo-poo that whole idea. if you're saying that the conversion to shilling is really not that big a deal in the cost factor or the process there. I see the brother shaking his head. What are you saying?
No, it is not. It is
not.
Okay, for example, a street deal. This isn't the government. This isn't a town. There's something called kitumbua. Kitumbua is one, vitumbua is like many. So it's like a little small
street
rice
situation.
pancake. It's a street situation, but it's kind of like a donut, but it's like a rice pancake donut type of thing. Now, they cost about 100 Tanzanian shillings, which is nothing. That's a couple cents. 100 Tanzanian shillings, right? Now, by the time you go from out of the city to inside the city, now suddenly the price has doubled. Okay, so I'm inside the city. I'm going to visit Losi. I see some Kitumbua. He says, "I know who has the best Kitumbua." So we'll walk down the street to see the mama. Now the mama sees me walking down the street. Now at face value, she doesn't know if I'm Tanzanian, American, Kenyan, whatever. But as soon as I open my mouth and say enough words, oh, now the price is not 200 Tanzanian shillings. It is 200 Tanzanian shillings. It is 350 Tanzanian shillings. And this is just the first transaction. Now let's say I come back because she has the best vitumbua in town. This is about a question. That's like I might raise a hair to 400 Tanzanian shillings for one. So we go from 100 to 400 over the course of 2 days. You know?
And again, that's not to remind the people, right?
No.
That's to say that you have to account for the difference in just the devaluation, right, of the shilling. It might be a good time in terms of giving the information that you're looking for, sis, to look at the sort of giving levels that we have set up on the fundraising site.
I can show that, Mama Evelyn.
Fantastic. And then we've given some ideas about sort of how much gets what, right? And I feel like that may get us closer to the answer that you're looking for.
Yes, it does. It does. Absolutely. But then also, you know, the way my mind works, I am a real estate advisor of about 20 years. So I have quite a bit of experience with the government. And so all of this, of course, is theoretically very interesting to me. I was wondering, you know, Kenya had for a while, they had their own local currency in the Bitcoin. Is that still flourishing? Do you know?
I'm not familiar with Bitcoin in Kenya. They have their own currency. It's the Kenyan shilling.
One of the things is that some of those, as the currency that the transaction happens in sometimes changes, and the final transaction was even then still in dollars, still in euros. Right. So what we're doing on the street with those pieces of paper different than what happens like at the central banking level. Right?
Yes, I do. I do follow that. I guess my hope was always that there's a rapper that you guys are probably familiar with is Nas. And one of the things he said that always stuck with me when I got into economics was he said paper money was the death of Christ. And so to me, what that means is that the ability to convert whatever your local trading impetus really is, right? So you got gold, maybe I want gold, and maybe I have something you want. When people focus more on that and less on, okay, now I have this assumed value of a shilling or whether it be a dollar, and there's an interest rate attached to it, we are really watering down our ability to create value within the co-op.
I absolutely, and that's one of the benefits and the values that the Plants Count program has, right? Is that we've all got food, we can trade food amongst ourselves, right? It's like that sovereignty that Mama Flora was talking about, right? So we don't really need to trade so much. And in fact, in Indonesia, there isn't a huge amount of like currency related trade. There's a lot of labor relationship related trade that actually exists outside of currency, right? And the reason why that is possible is because of the food, right? And the food is possible because of the water, right? Mama P, were you going to share the
I have more question. I have a question. What are you guys looking for? What's your target amount that you need right now?
So our target amount is $25,000, right?
All right. So now we know, like.
Mama,
Yes.
I just made sure it all works. Now we need 24, okay?
Fantastic.
That, the chat, y'all, will get you to the same spot it took me to make a donation. And I want to show you the levels. Now you can donate what you'd like. Like always know you can put in your own amount. And here are just some suggestions. So they talked about the stream, like helping to maintain it. You can go there, helping to improve it and continue to maintain it here. I want to say a little bit about this one, the $500 level for the Adopt a Mango youth project. some of us have heard this story in our Ngolo garden circle at some point, and they can tell better details than me. I'm going to tell you the essence of this story because it just touches my heart so much when I first heard it. These mango trees have been producing, like fruit will do, even though nobody's home and nobody was taking care of this land. Nobody was really owning this land until it was purchased here. And they found out when it was time to harvest the mangoes that some children who lived an hour away, who were walking in, sometimes starting out before dawn, as Mama Evelyn said, to get these mangoes to actually eat. That was found out, and what they decided, what Mama Evelyn, Baba Baoku decided was to not interrupt it. I mean, so for some of us who are caring about food security, I mean, I love mangoes, and the thought that these children can continue eating them means a lot to me. And what Mama Evelyn and Baba Baoku are doing now is looking out for them not to have to walk for an hour, okay, to actually transport the mangoes back on a truck and keep them with those mangoes. I went to this one because, of course, I care so much about their teaching students there in this Plants Count program. I care so much about math being taught through agriculture. So here you can go on down, help them create a new town plan. Here you can help to make sure there's an instructor in place here. You got various levels, commission the town planner, register and map the stream, help build a classroom, absolutely. Help bring AYA Educational Institute to Nane Day, Farmers Day. Oh, I'd love to be there. And then here to keep growing and establish a library at our school, okay? So all these options, and again, you can put in your own amount. It does work. It says these things are active, and then it's like, we gotta see. So the link in the chat, y'all, will get you there. Please forgive me. My phone's ringing on my system. So Mama Glory, sorry to interrupt you. And some of y'all know Bawa Kessa and I will be going to Tanzania in October for 10 days. I'm so excited.
Weeks.
And we want to take as much support, financial support to
25
efforts as possible.
What we take it.
So please help us. And I'm going to put the link in one more time. Mo.
All right, folks. Thank you for staying up, Evelyn and Baoku. Thank you for all your work leading us. You had the first Ngolo Gardens here, and the first Ngolo Gardens now, Shamba. Doing the work. Y'all, please give them big up, because you see, a lot of folks go to Africa, meaning well and wanting to do things, but not knowing the AYA way, the WHB way. And when you take that with you, being embraced by the community, not carrying some superior, inferior, unconscious stuff in your way, you really are able to get the kind of reception that they have been able to get, and get kind of respect that they've been able to get, so that the mother would say, I trust you, so I will sell you this property. I'm not selling it to everybody. And you must agree to take care of the people downstream. You must agree to take care of this land on this plot where MZ was buried. That kind of trust, y'all, you get when you carry yourselves in a WHB way. So I want to say big ups to you. Thank y'all so much. And y'all join me in the big ups.